All right, welcome back, everyone. By the time you're seeing this, I believe the regular season might be over. We still have one more day, but it has been a fun regular season. But it's the end of September, so it's time for some September awards. But first, Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I think this will come out tomorrow morning, so it'll be Wednesday morning, so everyone will have one more day of regular season baseball, one more day of watching non-playoff teams, and then get ready for the playoffs. They'll start on Friday, so hopefully we'll get another episode out to you guys before then. 2 in a week, I know, so awesome. But I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Doing great. I mean, this little welcome back have kind of become our recap football the last few weeks, so I mean, both TCU and USC are undefeated, so that's exciting. TCU's got college game day next week. So that's our little football talk. We won't get that too long. But yesterday, I went to go see some baseball. Went to the Rangers-Yankee game. Hopefully, I was hoping to see Aaron Judge hit number 62. Kind of around the 6th inning, I was like, I don't even care about 62 and 0 anymore because Luis Severino was throwing a no-hitter, which I thought was a perfect game at the time because I guess he had one walk and faced the minimum. I guess I was in the gift store at that time. But so that was exciting, and then they pulled him in this after 7. But nonetheless, a fun game, but did not get to see the 60-second home run.
Did you get anything from the gift store?
I did. I'm going to actually bring it to you real quick.
All right, while Ryan is gone, I'll pose to you the next question after the gift store, which is, will Aaron Judge get to 62 home runs? That is fire.
I got this little tiny bat so we can play baseball in my room and probably break something. But
that is pretty awesome.
Do I think Aaron Judge will get to 62? I do think so. I just kind of hoping so at this point. I feel like it's too good not to, and we'll talk about him a little later in this episode. He's been too good in September. A little spoiler there. But I'm hoping it carries on. And for the Yankees, they need him to get going. He's kind of hasn't been great ever since he hit 61. I mean, part of that's because he's not getting any strikes thrown to him. But he wants to get to 62. I know the Yankees desperately want him to get to 62 because I was not impressed with that Yankees team outside of Aaron Judge. The pitching was good in the game, but just looking at some of the names that they are throwing out on a daily basis just don't seem like a World Series team. So they need Aaron Judge to get going if they want to make some noise in the playoffs.
I will say, at the exact time that we're recording this, he only has 2 more games to do it. There'll be one later today when we're recording because they had a doubleheader, and then they got game 2 today, and then they play one more game against the Rangers tomorrow. So he's going to have to do it really either today or tomorrow. So we'll see if it can happen. I thought that maybe you were going to get it. I just had that feeling that it would work out and you'd be able to see 162. But also on the idea of him walking all the time, I mean, Barry Bonds hit way more than 62 while getting intentionally walked 140, I think, times in the season. So
I think it's just because all the walks seem to be happening at once for him. So it's just kind of tough to get in a groove when you don't know if you're getting a strike or not. You're not really expecting a strike.
No, that definitely makes sense. The other piece of news right before we get into the September awards, because that's what we want to spend the bulk of our time on, the playoff field is set. All 12 teams that are going to be in the playoffs, we know who they are now. Matchups are still being decided. We'll probably know more after today's games, but the Phillies clinched that last 12th spot. The Brewers missed out after losing 3 of 4 to Miami. Our bold takes looked like they were in good position for the Phillies to miss the playoffs and the Brewers to sneak right in at the last second. The Brewers gave them a window, or the Phillies gave them a window, and the Brewers just threw it away, losing 3 of 4 to the Marlins. The Braves swept the Mets. We've got some more news. Where do you want to kind of hone in on that, the fact that we know all 12 teams now?
I mean, the Braves sweeping the Mets was a big one. I unfortunately wasn't able to watch any of the games, which kind of sucks. But it was a big series. I would go on my phone and see Braves win again. So right now, it's magic number is 1 to clinch the division. Either a win or a Mets loss, which the Mets are winning 3-0 right now. I just checked that against the Nationals. So it might be in the Braves' hands if they need to beat the Marlins this weekend, but that was a big series. And then Phillies are in. We were picking bold takes like you said to get the Brewers in, but Phillies took care of business. They getting close to not taking care of business, but they took care of business. They're in the playoffs. They'll probably face the Cardinals, which is probably it is the more favorable matchup than the Padres having to face probably the Mets now. But so Phillies, I mean, you get Nola and Wheeler in a 3-game series. I like that matchup with almost any 1-2 punch in the big. So maybe you see them make the NLDS, and who knows, maybe they can shock the world.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to ask you before we move on. We went the entire season without saying this. Was that last series a Mets gonna Met moment? Like I totally thought with them playing so well this year that saying was gonna die, but it kind of feels like it might be making a return.
I don't know if it's a Mets gonna Met, because I mean, yeah, it sucks to lose the division, but I mean, they're still making the playoffs at the end of the day, and they're going to be favorites to win that first series. I think the only part where that sucks for them is that if they win, they're going to have to play the Dodgers in the division series versus avoiding them until the championship series, assuming the Dodgers take care of business as well. But I think that's the only thing. But I mean, you're going to have to face them at some point, and I mean, maybe for the Mets, you prefer a 5-game series rather than a 7-game series. I mean, you only get one start for DeGrom and Scherzer, but if they're good in one game each of them, that could be 2 wins for you, and then you only need to find one more out of the next 3 games. So maybe a 5-game series is more beneficial for you if you're the Mets. So I wouldn't really consider it a Mets gonna Met moment, but you definitely would prefer to win the division and avoid that wild card series.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the awards, and it's going to start with one of those Mets, maybe the most surprising player of the month that we've had all year. In the National League, we both have Eduardo Escobar as our National League Player of the Month. He hit .340, .393 on base percentage, a .649 slugging with 8 homers, 24 RBIs, which led the National League, a 1.6 WAR, and a 191 WRC+, really just embodying that clutch Mets energy throughout the entire month of September. He earned both of our National League Player of the Month, kind of the most surprising guy that we've had all year.
Yeah, I was doing just kind of going through for fun. I had some extra time. I was at work making these notes, but I did one word for each of these players that I gave an award to, and it was for Eduardo Escobar. It was seriously. I mean, I've kind of seen here and there him having a good game. There was one game where the Mets won. I think it was 5-4 on a walk-off win, and he had all 5 RBIs.
Yeah.
So, but just looking at the stats, I mean, you mentioned all of them, but he had a great month. As like you said, surprising, and he easily could have been a surprise of the month as well, but give it to someone else because he gets the Player of the Month. So a great month for a Mets team that kind of wish I could have used this narrative to say he led the Mets to the division title, but we'll see if they can do that.
Yeah, I think if you're the Mets too going into the playoffs, he's one of those players that they are a fringe team, needs to play well. You need an Eduardo Escobar to play well. You need a Mark Canha to play well. They've got to get Starling Marte healthy. Because their offense is so reliant on just kind of everyone up and down the order taking good at-bats, getting the hit when it matters, and they're not like the Braves where it's Matt Olson's going to hit a home run off of you, then Austin Riley is, and then Acuna might, and then Harris might, and then Swanson's going to hit one in every single game against the Mets in that 3-game series. They're a much more methodical offense. They need a guy like Eduardo Escobar to get going, and so far, through September he is, so hopefully for them, he keeps it up through October. You go from the most surprising Player of the Month to the least surprising, September. Aaron Judge, the best month of one of the best seasons ever. He's our Player of the Month in the American League.
Yeah, my one word for Aaron Judge was MVP. I mean, he deserved it. And I mean, earlier in the year, we were a little, is it Shohei? But Aaron, like you said, one of the best seasons of all time. And this month, .417 batting average with .565, .869. That's on base and slugging. 10 home runs. He walked over 25% of the time. A .286 WRC plus and a 2.9 WAR. And I saw you gave it to Judge, and I saw the stats. I kind of just glanced. I was like, yeah, Judge is getting better. So I didn't even bother checking. But when I was going to do our team of the month, I saw Bo Bichette had a 220 WRC plus. I'm like, wait a minute, is he actually the Player of the Month? Did Jack just give it to Judge because Judge is Judge? I look at it, Judge was still miles ahead of him, even though Bichette had 8 home runs, hitting .405 with a 220 WRC plus. So that's how good of a month Aaron Judge had. The 2 New York guys get the Player of the Month.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that like 2.9 WAR wins it in the American League, and you go to the National League and it's 1.6. Like that just shows you how good Aaron Judge has been. I mean, one of the best seasons that we've ever seen, that the game of baseball has ever seen. And I wasn't joking. Like this is the single best month he's had, WAR-wise, WRC plus wise, walk percentage wise. He still hit 10 home runs in the month. There's just no denying Aaron Judge. He's going to win MVP. Shohei had a ridiculous month as well, and without spoiling anything, we'll get to him later. But still, it's Aaron Judge. Even though Shohei is just having still another phenomenal season, Aaron Judge is MVP.
Absolutely. And getting into NL Rookie of the Month, I had a guy that we had an episode on very early in this year, and we kind of thought once he got called up, he was going to be fun to watch. And he's disappointed a little bit over the course of the season. It's O'Neal Cruz. But this month, he hit 284, 355 on base with a 541 slug and a 150 WRC plus. And I mean, obviously, you know his tools, his arm across the diamond, and his power. And then way to spill right there, Jack. Miss your mouth.
Yeah, thank you.
But the one word, I did a letter for O'Neal Cruz. This one was just a W. I mean, if he's playing well and he turns into a serious MLB player, this is going to be a guy that's going to be fun to watch for a very long time because, like I said, the tools, it's a very fun guy to watch.
This was the most up in the air that the Rookie of the Month has been, for me at least, because there were three guys that I considered. Cruz was third on my list. I ended up going, yet again, with Michael Harris of the Atlanta Braves. It just feels like the Braves have won every single one of these. But Harris just edged out his teammate Spencer Strider, who, if he had thrown a couple more innings, I might have elected to go with him. I think he threw like 25 innings, K per 9 in the 15s, and a good ERA. But Michael Harris, fourth among WAR for National League hitters this month. Feels like he's always at the top of that list, even though he's just a rookie. Hit 324 with a 343 on base, 569 slug, 1.3 WAR, 152 WRC plus. Again, it's really close between him and Cruz and Strider, but I've just been so impressed with Michael Harris. And the thing that kind of pushed me up on Harris to be the number one spot, he went from hitting 8th or 9th to start this month to like they're hitting him 3, 4, 5 now. They've gotten extremely confident in Michael Harris, and Strider missing a start was kind of what gave Harris the edge for me, that they're just gaining confidence in this rookie heading into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great Rookie of the Year. Not really a race, the race is over, but interesting to see where the voting lies. But obviously, said Michael Harris has been great for the Braves, and they're trusting him, and he's another big piece for the Braves. If he's still going in the playoffs, that's another great bat defense that you can rely on. So I mean, going forward, the Braves, I mean, they need that as well. And we talk about, I mean, obviously all playoff teams want as many people as possible performing at a high level in the playoffs, but Michael Harris is a guy that would be great. And even if he's not hitting, I mean, the elite glove in the outfield, he's a very valuable player for the Braves and could be a player to watch to get hot in the playoffs and kind of make his name for, I mean, the baseball fans who are just like postseason watchers, really earn his name. And I think he can do it.
There's a Texas rubbing off on you. He got a great bat.
I don't know if that just kind of came out. I was kind of surprised that when I heard that.
We'll do season-long awards after the postseason, most likely, but I can kind of spoil it right now. I'm not picking between these two, Strider and Harris, for National League Rookie of the Year. Like, I think they should do a co-Rookie of the Year. Teammates, they're both just so good. I might not have the ability to pick between the two. But another one we differ on, it's going to be our American League Rookie of the Month. Do we have the same guy? I don't know. Yeah. We do this. Okay, whatever. Well, I'm going with Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians, a 325 batting average, 396 on base percentage, 450 slug, 21 runs scored, 7 stolen bases, a 144 WRC plus, and a 1.3 WAR. For me, he just edged out Adley Rutschman, had a higher OPS, he had more at-bats, and then obviously 7 stolen bases. And you know what? His team just made it to the playoffs and won the division, so that a little bit baked into my award prediction, or my award pick, but it was great to see Stephen Kwan really kept it up down the stretch after he had a really good first month. And you still look right here, even though he's a guy that many people doubted, is still putting it together down the stretch. So I'm going Stephen Kwan for my Rookie of the Month in September.
Yeah, I had Kwan too. My one word was sneaky, just because, I kind of paid attention to him a little bit just because he's the local kid back home. So, if you think about it, he had that amazing stretch to start the year. I mean, it was like he didn't swing and miss until like, I don't even remember, like the 20th game or something. Like I don't remember. It was some crazy stretch where he just did not swing and miss, and he kept hitting. He like had back-to-back 5-for-5 games or something. But and I mean, you kind of like the hype died down because then you saw Adley come up, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, Julio Rodriguez. He kind of just got outshined by these rookies who were like, we were expecting to do well, and like everyone was excited when they did do well. But Stephen Kwan, he's been good this whole time, and he has a great month. Also wins for me. That's why it was sneaky. But and I mean, I think he's hitting above 300 for the season. Another key piece for the Guardians if they want to make some noise in the AL when they're not really favored to. But Kwan's another guy who has an amazing glove as well. He'll pop up in highlights with some crazy catches in the outfield. So Stephen Kwan, Rookie of the Month.
And he's another dude who, in the playoffs, because he's going to be there, can build his reputation as a rookie for the fans that don't pay as much attention as some of all of our followers who just love baseball so dang much. But he like Randy Arozarena, he didn't really make his reputation until that first playoff run. I'm not saying Stephen Kwan is going to go out and set the home run record for a single postseason, but Stephen Kwan, Michael Harris, guys that can boost their reputation with a good performance in the postseason, especially if the Guardians are able to win a series, which we will predict later this week. National League Pitcher of the Month. I only have one more month to do this because I'm not sure he's going to be a Giant for very much longer. It might be a tiny bit biased, but I'm going with Carlos Rodon. 26.1 innings pitched, which was kind of low, but at the same time, a 2.03 ERA, a FIP even better than that, which I'm not baking into my award pick, but just noting it, a 15.53 K per 9 to, I believe he's going to end the season as the NL leader in strikeouts, tied for the all-time franchise lead in most games with double-digit strikeouts in a season in his only year with the Giants, a 1.3 WAR. Rodon was filthy this year for the Giants. Super great for him. He stayed healthy for all of his starts. They're not going to start him today just because they've already been eliminated and they don't want him to get injured, and they're just going to let him go into free agency. Got another opt-in, but I bet he opts out for free agency. I'm praying the Giants bring him back because he's just been such a joy to watch all season. But Rodon had another ridiculous month in September. Could end up coming in second in the NL Cy Young. He was great. I might be a little bit biased, but I'm giving him my award.
Yeah, I saw that, and I said, if you're going to be biased, then I'm going to be biased. And
I said so kind of biased, though, because I still think he was probably the best pitcher. I don't know. It was close.
Well, Julio Urias, he had 5 more innings pitched. That's who I went with. And he also didn't qualify. So, Rodon, they weren't really close to qualifying. But my word for Julio was ace. He's probably going to start game 1 of the playoffs. He had a 1.19 ERA in 5 starts, 30.1 innings pitched, and he's just been great the whole year. He's another guy who could finish second in that Cy Young too. It'll be a battle for the second and third with those two guys, and we probably know that Sandy's probably going to get the one. But these two guys. Julio Urias. I don't know when he's a free agent. He's only like 24, and he's been on the Dodgers for like 15 years. It feels like. So he's been pitching since he's like 17 for the Dodgers coming up. But another guy, these guys are just fun to watch. And hopefully, I'll let the Giants have this one. Hopefully they do sign Rodon, and we could see that battle for a while.
Yeah, because those are, I don't know if you would agree. And there's some guys that maybe I'm forgetting. Those could very well be the 2 best left-handed starters in baseball. Max Fried and Shane McClanahan, I think, have cases, but any given year, I think you could argue those are the 1 and 2 or 2 and 1 best left-handed pitchers in baseball, starters. They're definitely up there. Like you said, McClanahan and Max Fried, those are probably the top 4 right there, unless I'm forgetting anyone too. But nonetheless, they're great guys to watch. And getting into the AL Pitch of the Month. This one's a righty for the Blue Jays. Alek Manoah, he's got that dog. That was my word. Dog. 41 innings pitched, so 11 more than Julio did, and a .88 ERA in the month. The 1.1 WAR. But Manoah, he's so good for the Blue Jays, and he's another guy who is an ace as well, and this guy's a dog. What did you say his ERA was?
.88.
Wow. My guy does not have quite the glistening ERA, but You all know him. You all love him. Shohei Ohtani, 33.1 innings pitched, a 1.09 ERA, a 1.4 WAR, so he led American League pitchers in WAR, 10.09 K per 9. Whenever Shohei is up for this award, I'm going to give it to him because Alek Manoah isn't hitting the way that Shohei Ohtani is hitting. Shohei Ohtani is on one of the longest hit streaks of his career. He's hitting the cover off the ball in this month. And he also pitching to a 1.09 ERA while striking out 10 guys per 9 innings. I'm not going to give it to Shohei. Manoah was very close. He was my second. I'm glad that you went with him so that he gets some recognition. But for me, it was Shohei Ohtani all the way.
It's the pitcher of the month, not the best pitcher who can also hit of the month award. So that's why I went with another pitcher for our surprise of the month, kind of in a negative way. It was Jacob deGrom. I kind of looking, there was no one who stood out to me like
same
on like doing better than I expected. And so Jacob deGrom, 4.5 ERA in 5 starts. He averaged I think he had 28 innings. He averaged a little over 5 innings per start, which is, we're not accustomed to that with Jacob deGrom. I mean, he had that one bad start against the Braves this past weekend. That was one of their losses, and my word was bruh. It's like, are you serious right now, bro? But that was just one not expecting. We want Jacob deGrom to do well. The Mets absolutely want him to do well going into October. So that was a surprise.
They don't want him to do well. They need him to do well. Like the whole discourse about the Mets is you don't want to run into them in the playoffs. You're facing deGrom and Scherzer, and the Braves are like, we don't care. We're gonna hit both of them, and then we're gonna hit Chris Bassett too. But like they need Jacob deGrom to pitch well because that is where they built the team, and they didn't make any moves at the deadline because they said once the trade deadline is coming, Jacob deGrom's coming back off the injured list. So he's effectively their trade deadline move. He's supposed to be the best player on their team, one of the best players in baseball. They need better than a 4.5 ERA if they want to contend for a World Series. I'm going to stick in the AL East. I'm going to say surprise of the month for me. Sounds really weird. Going with the Atlanta Braves, but they proved me wrong. I felt I was kind of at the top of the mountain all year. The Mets were my bold prediction. I think this is finally the year that they come through, win the National League East. Thought that a month ago, thought it 2 weeks ago, thought it last week, thought it just as far ago as this weekend, and the Braves come through. They sweep the Mets in a series where I thought was going to be down to the wire in every game. It was definitely not going to be a sweep, and they come in and they swept the Mets, in effect winning the American League East. If the Mets lose one of their 2 games today or tomorrow, or if the Braves just win one more game the rest of the season, the Braves will lock up the East. So for that, I'm going with the Braves as my surprise of the month.
Yeah, the Braves, I mean, they make me seem like a genius, even though we don't get... Never mind.
Even though you predicted the reigning champs to win their division.
Yeah, but, I mean, I stuck with them the entire time. They were 10 games back at one point.
That's true. The White Sox the White Sox offset that.
That one, we don't talk about that one. I do want to, at one point, do, whether it's in next week's episode, just kind of like a little segment where we go back and kind of like toot our own horns a little bit, but also see the teams we were most off on being the White Sox and Orioles, most likely.
We can probably think of a point system where we look at our preseason record predictions. We say like how many games we were off both ways, and then whoever had would be the lowest number would be the winner. And also we'll get next week, or I guess the episode later, we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about. But episode later this week, I guess, is gonna be series locks. Naming the winner because it's going to be done tomorrow. Hopefully we're getting we're going to go through the playoff series, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Stick with us. Little plug, subscribe. Who's your American League surprise of the month?
American League surprise of the month. This was Elvis Andrus. So, I mean, this guy, I wanted to do more than one word. My word was bum. Because he was a bum on the A's this entire year, kind of in the past few years. But since going to the White Sox, he had not since going to White Sox, but this month he had 128 WRC plus with a 279 average, a 1.6 WAR in the month. So Elvis Andrus, I mean, kind of out of nowhere, had played great for the White Sox. I guess he just needed a little change of scenery to get him going, but unfortunately for the White Sox, it wasn't enough to overcome the Guardians. But Elvis Andrus, he had a great month.
I guess Elvis Andrus just needed a movie to come out about his name. Elvis gets released, and Elvis gets released, goes to the White Sox, and then he's playing well in September. So definitely a surprise. He's one of there weren't a lot of great candidates for surprise of the month this month, and he was one of the guys I looked at. But I ended up going with Jeffrey Springs, and I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, who's that? So I wrote down Rays pitcher, because Jeffrey Springs is one of those Rays pitchers that they produce who just pitches well for a month. Last month it was Drew Rasmussen. This month it's Jeffrey Springs, 31.1 innings pitched, a 1.44 ERA, 0.8 WAR, and an 8.9 K per nine. I first came on to hear about Jeffrey Springs because he pitched against me in the fantasy baseball playoffs, and he had a couple good starts in a row, and looked at his month-long stats, 31 and a third innings pitched and a 1.44 ERA. Yeah, that'll get you surprise of the month when I had never heard your name before.
Yeah, I feel like you can always go with a Ray for surprise of the month in some capacity or another. There's always some dude like, who are you? And then you'll see 150 WRC plus or 1 point something ERA, and it seems like they just produce guys that who are you, and that just play well. And so those are our awards. It was a good month of September. Excited to get into the postseason, though. And, we have a little bit of time here. Before we get into our question segment, which have been fun, you want to go over a quick overview of what's going on in Series Locks? Just because we haven't really done that in an episode in a while. If you follow our Instagram, you're caught up with that. But it's a fun race in Series Locks. So you want to go through that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm up, 5 points.
I've got the spreadsheet pulled up. It's getting a little long. It's right now you're up 71 to 66. We both have 5 picks this week. We both have a double down. Surprise! We both lost our first game of our double down. I had the Dodgers over Rockies. You had
as
Braves
it
over
always
Marlins.
goes. I don't think there's been one successful double down. I was considering not picking one, not doing one, just in case there was a loss. But I ended up so I doubled down Braves and Marlins. We can run through the picks. I had Mariners over Tigers. Mariners lost game 1. I had Mets over Nationals. That game got rained out. Mets won game 1 today, and they play 2 more games. I picked Brewers, Diamondbacks. The Brewers walked it off, but it didn't matter because the Phillies clinched their playoff spot. So I'm up 1-0 in that game. Braves and Marlins, I doubled down, and the Braves lost game 1. And then Rays, Red Sox, and the Red Sox beat the Rays in game 1.
Yeah, so my picks, I went Dodgers, Rockies, which I said lost the first one. The other one was Yankees, Rangers. The Yankees lead that 2-0 right now. A sweep would be huge for me to make that up. Astros, Phillies. Phillies won and clinched a playoff spot last night. Braves, Marlins, I also had it, just not double down on, so Marlins win. And then Cardinals, Pirates, which I think the Pirates won that as well. So out of five games yesterday that involved me, I think I was 1-4. So it's not looking good for my comeback. I need a couple sweeps, or I need a sweep from the Yankees and a couple sweeps going against you in order to come back. But it's been a fun year of Series Locks, and I made a good effort to come back. I think I was down by 10 at points, but looks like the dream, the comeback is going to come up a little short in Season 1. But, crazier things have happened.
Well, I think, if the Marlins win one of the next 2 games against the Braves, which I don't know. I think the Braves are very, very motivated to win a game, considering that once they win one, they win the division. But, what if they win today, don't really care on Wednesday, and lose a game? That means I lose my double down, which would be -2 points. If the Dodgers can end up coming back winning the last 2 games of that series to get them to 112 wins, that would be 2 points in your favor because you doubled that down. So already there, that's a 4-point swing. I was only up 5 coming into the week. It's a possibility. I pray that we don't tie, because that would suck. Well, this is week 26.
26 weeks. It's it would be, let me count how many picks. It would be 117 picks for me, and I think you're going to end up with 115 picks. So over 100 picks each, and we're going to tie. I would honestly think that's kind of funny. At least for me, because I'm coming from behind. So
yeah, that would be a win for you.
As a win. Yeah, I'd consider that as a win.
All right, let's get into the questions. I've got a quick one to ask you.
Go ahead.
We know the 12 teams now in the playoffs. We know all 12, 6 in the American League, 6 in the National League. I'm just curious to know, who do you think is the worst?
The worst?
The worst team.
Let me give I think all the wild card teams in the American League, I think the Guardians are kind of sneaky. I'm leaning towards the Phillies, if I'm being honest. it's I don't know, but at the same time, I feel like the Phillies can win their first series just because of the way it's formatted with 3 games, because they've got the top 2. Maybe I'll go with the Guardians. It's a division winner they're going to host a series, so another team that can win. But I'll go with the Guardians. I'm also curious to hear who you think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was probably between those 2 teams. Part of me also wants to say. Part of me also kind of wants to say the Yankees, just based on how poorly they played the second half. But like, I know they're not the worst team. They may be a team that I expect to maybe get upset, but they're definitely not the worst team. It's probably between the Guardians, the Phillies, maybe the Mariners. But the Mariners have played really well down the stretch. They're just a team that's playing better than you would expect them to. I'm probably going to go the Guardians just because I think the Phillies have the better roster, but also I think you have to take into account managing. I mean, Terry Francona is a guy who's who's been in the World Series before. He's coached in many playoff series. The Phillies manager coming into the year is right now doing MLB Network breakdowns of how the Phillies made the playoffs. So there's just a lot of lack of direction for that franchise that I'm just not sure they can. I think it's great that they made the playoffs for them, but I'm just not sure how well they'll play in the playoffs. So I would say I guess the Guardians are the worst team, but I expect the Phillies to be the worst playoff team. If that makes sense.
That's fair. And then our second question, TikTok is like this one, as we keep mentioning. Go follow. But we're going to do another King of the Hill. This one is rookies. We've done positions before, but this one is rookies. The first matchup, let's get into it. 2 guys that are kind of underrated rookie seasons a little bit. Joey Meneses and Brendan Donovan. Who are you going with?
See, I'm not quite educated enough to really dive into the stats. All I know is Meneses has not been playing quite as long as Brendan Donovan. And yeah, I'm going to go Brendan Donovan. I think he's been a little bit more important. He's really helped the Cardinals stabilize a little bit and help them get to the playoffs.
Yeah, those are just 2 rookies that I think deserve to be here, but I don't expect them to get out of that after the first round. Next one is Brendan Donovan versus Stephen Kwan.
Stephen Kwan.
Yeah, so now's where it's going to get a little difficult for you with the big names. Stephen Kwan or Adley Rutschman?
That's not even very difficult for me, to be completely honest. I think Adley Rutschman is as good as any rookie in the league. He's had one of the best catcher seasons in the league in general this year. I'm going with Adley Rutschman over Stephen Kwan.
And a quick disclaimer that I forgot to say before the segment started. I left out Spencer Strider of this just because I think it's kind of hard to compare pitchers and hitters, especially in a rookie season. But the next one, Adley Rutschman versus Michael Harris.
Oh my, that one's hard. I mean, going forward is clearly Adley. Michael Harris has been, I think, up for longer than Adley. He has made a little bit more of an impact. I'm going Adley Rutschman. I mean, he's playing the catcher position. He's the leader of the Orioles team that no one expected to be good. I'm going Adley Rutschman. I think he's going to be a better player down the line anyway. Better rookie year, you might go Michael Harris, but overall, I think better rookie, I'm going Adley Rutschman.
And then the championship matchup, Adley Rutschman versus Julio Rodriguez. 2 guys. They were the 1 and 2 prospect, right? Who are you going with?
I think, yeah, them 2 and Bobby Witt Jr. were the 3 biggest prospects coming into the year, and Francisco Alvarez, who's now up for the Mets. But this might ruffle some feathers. I'm riding Adley all the way. I just really think that Adley Rutschman, maybe he's not had the best numbers of all rookies, and maybe he doesn't have quite the tools that Julio Rodriguez has, but at the position he plays, for the team he's played for, the impact that he's had on and off the field, in the locker room, in the clubhouse, I'm going Adley Rutschman.
Wow, there you go. Adley Rutschman, your King of the Hill. We'll keep doing these. I kind of wanted to stray away from the position base, and maybe we could do some even fun things. Maybe like we did top 5 baseball foods. Maybe we could do something like that, a food King of the Hill in the future, or a stadium King of the Hill, or teams. Or I think we can get fun with that as well. So there you go. But Adley Rutschman, the King of the Hill for rookies.
I assume that you're going Julio over Adley.
I think I probably would have. When I do these, I surprisingly I don't take the time to think who I would choose, but I think I would.
I think that makes sense. It's probably a hot take, but I think Adley's earned it. It sucks that the Orioles hadn't made the playoffs, but I mean, also shout out to them winning season in a year that we predicted them to lose 100 games. Yeah. We've said it like 1,000 times this season, but Adley Rutschman really lit a fire underneath the Orioles. They had just such a remarkable season. Doesn't end in a playoff berth, but so proud of the Orioles.
Absolutely. And that's our episode. Like we said, we'll be back in a few days with our postseason predictions, which is very exciting. Then probably by the time that's out, the playoffs will be getting started. So it's some fun baseball to watch. We'll see if Aaron Judge can get to 62 today and tomorrow. Hopefully he can, to break that American League record. But in the meantime, make sure you go follow all of our socials. You know where they are. If you're on Apple or Spotify podcasts, they're down below in the description. As well, on YouTube, it's right above us. And then make sure you go follow our Twitters, which are right below us as well on YouTube, and they should be in the description as well. But since then, we've been double play, and we're excited to come back for some playoff baseball next time we see you. And Jack, any last words to say before the playoff gets underway?
Go my series locks picks. That's all I got to say. And go everyone that I've got going in fantasy baseball. Don't choke. Don't choke.
There you go. Don't choke is Jack's last message to his fantasy baseball team with 1 day left.
Mets should have been listening to me too, but...
Yeah, my last message is go Dodgers.
Well, there you go. They're not going to be able to get to 113. That's for sure. But, anyways, that's all we've got for you guys. Peace.